Hello fellow bookworms. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about something different. I'm not going to talk about books today, I'm going to talk about myself. So, as you probably can see from the title, I want to talk to you about going to therapy and about my mental health. I've been in therapy for about a year now. I've been to one therapist and we've seen each other, you know, sporadically. I wasn't like really therapy like every week, it was like every other week, something like that. It wasn't with the health insurance company. There's a little bit of a grey area, you know. I wasn't really diagnosed by her. It's a service that the student association called Studentenwerk here in Germany provides, that, you know, helps students cope with the pressures of going to uni, and, you know, it's just there to, if you need someone to talk to about, you know, your relationship problems, or you just feel like very anxious and you can't cope with life or anything like that, you can go there and basically have one person to talk to, and then they will say, okay, listen, you can go to this place and this place and this place, and maybe it would be good for you to make like a to get a therapy. And that was what I did. I went there last year when my mother was diagnosed with cancer, because, as I said, often me and my mother, we've had a little bit of a difficult relationship with each other, with each other, and I just didn't know how to cope with that. I just didn't know how to deal with it, and so I went there. And then gradually, as I went there more and more often, me and my therapist, we finally decided that maybe it would be good for me to like get diagnosed, like make it official, get an official therapy, and then, you know, go back to her and progress with a weekly therapy with her, with my therapist that I spoke to for a few months. So, during June, July and August I got diagnosed, and that was a process that took a little bit of time. And that was very unnerving because, one, I had to talk to 3 different people on 3 different occasions, and I had to tell them my story all over and over again. If you have ever had a traumatic event in your life and you really don't want to tell that event over and over to a lot of different people, and that was very, very difficult for me, and I almost, you know, didn't go through with it because it's just, especially with me having anxiety, that's just something, and then talking to a new person that I've never seen in my life, it's just it's difficult for me anyways, and then talking about something that personal, it was difficult. So after that, after I got diagnosed, I got to a place called Abendklinik, which translates to evening clinic. It's a program that runs this kind of group therapy. I know, I was a little bit skeptical at first as well. They meet up 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays and Thursdays, 3 hours each time. And I was a little bit skeptical at first because, you know, group therapy, I thought like, are we all sitting in a circle then, and are we gonna talk about our problems, and like people are crying, and I was very skeptical about it, and I didn't really feel like I was needing therapy, you know, like I was like, I'm fine, I don't need this, nah, I can deal with my own problems. And oh boy, was I wrong. So yeah, that was what I did for 11 weeks, and now I'm back with my usual therapist for the official weekly hour therapy, like the stereotypical usual thing that you get. So now I want to talk to you a little bit about things that I thought about therapy before I went to therapy, because I was a little bit skeptical. I didn't really want to go to therapy, and for years I told myself that I can deal with my own problems, I don't need anyone. And I was a little bit deceiving myself. I now see that very clearly, and I wish I would have gone sooner and got help sooner, because it really did help a lot, and it really does help still. Things that I would say to myself, you know, trying to convince myself that I didn't need therapy was that, one, I can deal with my own problems. I don't need anyone. I'm okay. I don't need anyone, and that's my own responsibility. My problems are my own responsibility. I don't need to trouble anyone with them. And two, I don't want to go there, be diagnosed, and and get told by some, you know, condescending psychotherapist that I'm not normal, which is something that I'm actually really struggling with. Of course, they didn't tell me that I wasn't normal, and you know, they are not condescending. Well, some of them are, but that's like, you know, personality related, and not therapists. Therapists are usually, in general, not condescending, or they shouldn't be. When I finally went there, I was very, very silent at first. I mean, now the 3 times a week group therapy, like the first like real therapy that I got, and I was very quiet in the beginning, and I was, you know, just feeling it out, like, and at first, the first 2 weeks I thought, this is some bullshit, I don't need this, what is that? No, I don't need this, I'm good, everything's fine. Just, forgive me your context, the few weeks before that, like 3 weeks before I started my therapy, which was scheduled anyway, like that was a thing that was scheduled for 3 or 4 months, and just a few weeks before I started therapy, my house, there was a fire in my house, and I lost my home, which was not good, and I almost slipped into another period of depression. I fortunately didn't, because, I don't know, I think I could develop some strategies to deal with it, because I'm dealing with it, because I've been dealing with it for such a long time, so I suppose I'm growing? So yes, that was what happened, and during my time at the clinic, my mother, who still was dealing with cancer, got progressively worse, and she passed away then in October. And yeah, that was all during the time that I was at the clinic, and honestly it couldn't have turned out better, because that I did have some things to talk about, and I just did have a place to do that, and that was good, because those were 2 events that like definitely impacted me a lot, and still are impacting me. I'm still missing my home so much, and you know, the relationship with my mother is is complicated, and it will always be complicated, and I just have to make my peace with it somehow. Yeah, so I went to the clinic. We did in fact sit in a circle and talk about our problems, but that was good. Now, in retrospect, I think I was deceiving myself with my reasons that I said earlier, that I told you earlier, why I didn't want to go to therapy. I think the real reason why I didn't want to go was that I was so afraid of confronting my problems. Maybe not confronting my problems, but telling them another person and seeing their reaction and maybe get rejected by them because of that, because of all the things that happened to me in my life. And maybe also I was afraid of people telling me that I was worthless because of that. And I was afraid that they would tell me that, oh, the things that happened to you don't, like, that's not too bad. Like, there are a lot of people that have a lot of, have a lot of more problems, that have more severe problems than you. Just don't, you know, don't cry, and just, you know, get to work and you have no place here, maybe like that, like you are not allowed to feel the way you feel. And that's not the case. That was dumb that I thought that because that's not the case with therapy. And if any therapist ever makes you feel that way, walk away, walk out of that place, walk out of there. It's just, there are therapists cannot say that to you. So yes, I've gradually, after I was a little bit silent, I've gradually started to open up and talk about the things that were on my mind. And you know, that was very, it took a lot of courage. It took a lot of courage. And there was, you know, it's always the case when you have people, there are people that will respond the way you expect them to, and there are people that will respond the way you are not expecting. And learning to deal with that and learning to deal with each other was a big theme in therapy. And that was good, because I do have problems, you know, opening up to people, and I think I was good at it. I made myself do that. I don't know, just the things that I learned in therapy, or the things that I took away from therapy, it's hard to describe. I'm thinking so much differently now about problems. Like, usually when I have a problem, I tend to look at it very negatively and like putting myself down a lot. And I'm just thinking about things differently. Like, I've kind of learned that I'm allowed to talk to myself in a loving way. You know? Just so dumb. Yeah, of course I'm allowed to do that. It's just that I was made to think that I didn't, and that's so sad. Like, looking back to myself, like looking back now as I'm 24 years old, looking back at my 7-year-old self, at what I remember as my 7-year-old self, or my 13-year-old self, I'm so incredibly sad for those girls that were me. And I just want to hug them. Like, I'm often when I'm thinking, you know, they are still inside of me somewhere. Sounds weird, but I'm often, you know, thinking when I'm putting myself down, when I'm thinking, oh, I'm worthless, I can't do anything, I am the biggest loser of the universe, and I can't do shit, and I cannot deal with my own life, and how am I even existing? Then I'm, you know, thinking of these girls and what they've all been through, and like in my mind, like hug myself like big sister, like, and tell them like everything's going to be okay, and they are going to get out of these situations, and everything is going to get better. And that, I don't know, it also reminds me that I have a duty, or that I have an obligation to keep on fighting and keep on progressing and keep on, you know, doing and keep on trying to build myself a life that is worth living for. It all sounds very dramatic, doesn't it? Yeah. But that's kind of what I took away. I do think differently about myself, and more positively, and I'm more aware of the way I'm thinking about myself, kind of like when I notice that I'm slipping down this negative route, and then I'm more aware of that, and I can, you know, hit the brakes and take a step back and look at it from a more objective angle and say, okay, now this is my mental health problems talking. This is not me. Like, I can take a step back from my mental health problems and disassociate myself with them and say, okay, this is this illness that is talking. That's not real. Like, I don't know. And I just go very differently. I just, like, therapy definitely did shake up these truths about myself, or that I thought were truths about myself. Like, we all have things that we think define us. And in my case, they were very negatively. I felt like I wasn't worth anything, and I felt like I was unlovable, and that anyone new that I would meet would just see through all that facade that I was putting up and just dislike me because I am not likable. That's, you know, what I come to think growing up the way I grew up, with an abusive mother and with, you know, getting bullied in school. So now with therapy, I managed to just, you know, change that, managed to realize, okay, the way I'm thinking, that's because of these things that happened to me, and that's because of my mental illness that resulted out of that. And I don't have to think that way. Like, I do struggle still, and it depends on the day, and, you know, to feel worthy and to feel lovable, and that's a struggle that I will have for a long time, I guess, and it's probably never going to go away. But just the fact that I'm more aware of it, and the fact that I feel like I'm knowing myself better, it does help a lot, because I'm more able to disassociate myself from that and take a step back and look at it from a different angle and say, okay, I am allowed to love myself, and maybe this is not such a bad thing happening, and maybe I should do this instead of that. And, you know, just breaking old patterns and doing the things that make me feel good and not doing the things that make me feel like shit. So overall, therapy really helped me with a lot. Like, it does help a lot. I don't think that I'm at the end of the journey. I still think that I have a lot of way to go, and it's not going to get any less hard. Especially with seeing a lot of people, you know, a lot of friends of mine from uni are a lot younger than I am, and they are doing great, and I'm just a lot slower than they are. But and that is just something that I'm struggling with at the moment, is that I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. I feel like I'm running up that mountain and I'm not getting anywhere, or I'm not getting to the top as fast as other people do. And I need to constantly remind myself that one, my path up the mountain is maybe a little bit steeper, and that two, maybe I've got a little bit more baggage than other people do, and that slows me down, and that's okay, and that my journey is maybe a little bit slower than other people's. I don't think that it is going to get any easier. I think there's a lot of things I still have to learn, and as I said, there are good days and bad days, and there are setbacks, definitely. Like, I've been out of the clinic for a month now, I think, and no, 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks. And since then, there have been a lot of bad days, and I think I was surprised that they were still coming, and I still have to work hard to notice that when I'm slipping back into the negative world and think about everything negatively, and I actively have to work against that, and that's not going to get any easier, and that's not going to go away with all the therapy in the world. For me, therapy did help to, one, that I do know myself better, and that two, I think about things differently, I approach problems differently, and three, I'm not as negative as before, and I can say that I am allowed to feel self-worth and feel self-esteem, and that's okay to feel good about myself, which is something that is so weird at the same time, that I think that I'm not allowed to do that. Yeah, but I don't think that I'm the only person in the world that you know, has these problems. One of the things that I loved about this group therapy also was that I get to know a lot of people that have a lot of different struggles. You know, there are a lot, all of us struggle in some way. Some of us get help and some of us turn out to be abusers, and that's shit. But we all struggle with different things, and neither of these things is less worth or more worth to struggle than other people's struggles. You know what I mean? I'm not sure if I'm making myself clear right now, but I hope you know what I mean. So this is going to be a hell of a long video. So I'm going to go on with doing therapy, and I thought I would do this video maybe talking about it, because it is difficult to make that decision to go to therapy. That admitting to yourself that you need help, that's a big step, and it was very difficult for me, but it did help a lot, and I think maybe this video can help someone to make that jump to get help. I definitely know that I was inspired by people here on YouTube that I've watched with, you know, mental health problems, that I went and got help. And I would do it all over again. It definitely helped me a lot, and I hope maybe that this video is going to help someone as well. Yeah. That's actually everything I wanted to say today. I don't know, there are tons of other things that I couldn't talk about mental health problems, because I finally found out what my diagnosis is. They kind of kept it under wraps, and I just found out what it actually is, and I don't know, maybe you want to talk about that some other time. I don't know, maybe just let me know, you know. Just let me know if you want me to talk more about my mental health. Yeah, I don't know, maybe that is interesting to you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you could take something away from it, and I hope you're having an awesome day. And if you're not having an awesome day, I hope you find something to enjoy in life still. Yeah. Please let me know anything in the comments below. What are your thoughts on therapy? What are your thoughts on going to therapy, and did you go to therapy? If you want to share it, and what were your experiences? I would love to know. And I hope you're having an awesome day, and read something magical and wonderful, and I will see you soon. Bye!